Paul. Welcome to Deep Into Sleep podcast.
Well, thank you, Sean. Great to be here with you.
Very excited to have you because I know you have, just as we talk about in the introduction, you work with a lot of high-profile people. You have a lot of great experience in mindset. And so we want to dive into it to know more about your work. And I also know you have a new book coming out.
Yes, that's true. So, I love the topic of your podcast because I talk about sleep with my coaching clients all the time, how important sleep is as it relates to health and wellness and overall well-being. And of course, as you know, and I'm sure most of the people listening to this program are aware, here in America, there's a great sleep deprivation issue. And one of the reasons for that, that I talk about with my clients and, even as a keynote speaker with my audience members a lot, is the fact that we have been taught for a long, long time in this culture that, hard work and hustle and grinding is the only way to do it. And if you're not hustling and grinding, then you're a loser. And I totally disagree with that. In fact, I reject that. Now, it's funny because growing up, my dad was a really, really hard worker. He still is. He's in his 80s, and he still works all the time. He's a very, very hard worker. And so he instilled in me that very, hard work ethic, that strong work ethic, which is great. I mean, that's really awesome. However, it does have a flip side to it, which is that for many, many years, I felt very guilty if I was not working. And a lot of people, people that I coach, my coaching clients, my audience members, they tell me that they can definitely relate to that. In fact, I have a coaching program called the 12-week breakthrough, where I help people make more in 12 weeks than they made in the previous 12 months while getting their life back and literally getting out of the hustle and the grind. I call it leave the hustle and grind behind. And so, one of the things that we talk about is this very topic that, we need to have proper sleep. And so I help people with ways to do that. And that has come up many, many, many times over the past 20 years that I've been coaching and mentoring people.
Wow, very cool. Working hard ethic, just remind me, I grew up in China, and that's definitely a work ethic and family ethic among my education too. But when I grew up, I started learning, work hard and work smart are slightly two different things. And also, when I start treating insomnia patients and dive into this research about sleep, I realized sometimes some sleep problem is because we are trying too hard, try to make a sleep a performance, right? Other than we are losing sleep and because work too hard. On the other hand, when we realize we have sleep problem, we work too hard on sleep itself. We don't work smart, then make sleep problem worse.
That's definitely true. And it becomes a vicious cycle. And, numerous scientific studies have shown not only the importance of sleep in terms of length of time, but actually more importantly is the depth of sleep that a person gets, each day, each evening. And so for example, there's of course REM sleep, which is where the person is dreaming in the dream state, which is REM stands for rapid eye movement. And you can tell that the person is in a dream state because, when your eyes are closed, your eyes are going back and forth like this. And so that's why it's called REM or rapid eye movement. And so what they found is that even if you get like a certain number of hours of sleep, but you're not getting that deep sleep, that REM sleep where you're actually dreaming, it really also can affect your health and well-being in a very negative way. And so when I read studies like that, it makes me think of the fact that we humans have in our mind the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. It's like the Iceberg Principle that I talk about with my clients and in my speaking engagements as a keynote speaker. We talk about this, the conscious and the subconscious, and I call it the Iceberg Principle because the conscious mind of the human being is about 5%. That's visible above the surface of consciousness. And below that surface of consciousness, you have the unconscious mind or subconscious. And so it's the vast 95% is below the surface of consciousness. And so as I always say to my coaching clients and to my audience members, I say it wasn't the part of the iceberg that they could see that sunk the Titanic. It was the part they didn't see. And that's what sunk the Titanic. And that's what's sinking a lot of us, meaning what's in the subconscious mind. You can't actually see it. And so what's fascinating about that deep sleep, that REM sleep I was just talking about, is that the way that I see it is this, and I'm going to use an analogy. When we are awake during our daily routine, our daily lives, we're busy, we're doing a million things. We got our to-do list. You got kids, you've got, patients or clients or customers, your business, your job, your career, your relationships, whatever, and there's a million and one things to do every day, right? And so your conscious mind is always going and going and going, right? Thinking about the next thing we have to do, maybe worrying or afraid or stressed out or overwhelmed or frustrated, whatever your emotions are at any given time. So the conscious mind is always going and going as we are awake. And so what happens is when we sleep, but my point of that is that the conscious mind is the one in charge during the day, typically speaking, right? Our busy lives. But then the subconscious is still there, right? It's still just kind of humming behind the scenes, but we don't usually hear it, right? We're not aware of it. It's just, we don't even know it's there, really, most people. And so what happens is when we sleep and when we get to that deep REM sleep, the way that I see it, using the analogy that I like, is the subconscious mind says, well, finally we got to shut him up. Now I want to say something, because the conscious mind never shuts up during the day, right? It's always blah, 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 worry about this. Make sure you do that. It's like, oh my God, it's really an annoying voice for many of us, certainly in our heads, right? But the subconscious is just there. And so when we're sleeping, the conscious goes to sleep finally, and the subconscious goes, all right, well, we can shut that idiot up. Now I've got something to talk about, and that's how I see, our dreams as, messages from our subconscious mind. I'll give you a quick example of that, just as an example story. I often tell people, and that's why I have a program called 12-Week Breakthrough. I often tell people, you would be shocked at how your life can change in just 12 weeks. People think, it takes years or even, longer to change their lives. And I've proven over and over and over again, with both of myself and with my coaching clients, that your life can change a lot in just 12 weeks, believe it or not. I mean, when you use the right strategy, right? When you have the right, I call it the 3 phases of transformation, the right plan, the right tools, and the right support. You have to have those 3 things in place. If you don't have the right plan, then you don't know what you're doing. If you don't have the right tools, then you really can't do it, even if you know what you're doing. And if you don't have the right support, most people don't actually believe that they can do it. They just don't believe they can do it, so they don't start. So you have to have those 3 things. And so a story that I tell is that one morning, it was actually November. It was in November 2020. It was the Saturday before Thanksgiving of 2020. So, about a year and a half ago as we're recording this. And I woke up from a deep sleep with a knowing that we were supposed to move. Now, it's my wife and I in our home, and our kids, have left. They have their own houses and so forth. And so it's just me and my wife. But I woke up with this knowing. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just woke up like, we're supposed to move. And I'm like, what? That didn't make any sense. See, immediately the conscious mind comes in and says, questions it, like, what's wrong? You're stupid. That's a dumb idea, right? Isn't that what we do so much with our conscious mind, right? Meanwhile, the subconscious has these oftentimes epiphanies that don't make any logical sense. Anyway, so I literally said that is weird. But I see, I'm trained myself to listen to those promptings from my subconscious mind. So I said, okay, well, that's strange. I don't get it, but I've learned to listen. So I literally got up. I said to my wife, honey, I'm, gonna get on the computer for a little bit. And she said, okay. So I went on the computer, started looking at houses. And in about 30 minutes of searching, I found this house that I'm sitting in right now. And it's a beautiful 6,000 square foot mansion on a hill, something, people talk about their dream home. This is better than anything I could have dreamed of. Literally better than anything. I couldn't have even asked for this house. I wouldn't have dreamt to actually even think about, because it's so amazing. Well, anyway, I found it in like 30 minutes. And I'm going, holy cow. And then the very next day, the Sunday before Thanksgiving of 2020, there was an open house. We went to the open house. We fell in love with the house. I made an offer the next day. 83 days later, from the time that I had the epiphany to the time that we moved in, was just 83 days. That is 1 day short of 12 weeks.
Wow.
So believe it or not, your life can really change in 12 weeks. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for everyone watching? Listen to those promptings from your subconscious mind. And one of the best ways to do that is make sure you get the proper sleep every night.
Yeah. Well, that's how interesting. A lot of time our actions are guided by how we think about things, right? How our conscious mind would interpret things, and often results in self-criticism, self-doubt, self-bully. And sometimes we always, like, I think in psychology, a lot of time we ask people to have more self-compassion, to really pull up that subconscious part of us, to be nice to yourself and to guide yourself somewhat, to fight with the bully conscious mind for some people.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yes. In fact, I have a term for that. I call it head trash. So I've written many books. In fact, all these books you see behind me, I've written 17 books so far. They're basically about this one subject. It's called Get Rid of Your Head Trash, or Take Out Your Head Trash. This one's called Take Out Your Head Trash, about money. And actually, your viewers and your listeners can get this book for free at sendmeabooknoah.com. Very easy to remember. Sendmeabooknoah.com. And the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. But that's what you're talking about. And that's why I brought it up, because, you know, people say limiting beliefs, or, you know, the bully or whatever. And I mean, that's all true. But I came up with this term called head trash. And what's fascinating is that, you know, people come to me, you know, whether they hire me as a coach or mentor, as a speaker, or whatever, you know, what have you. And they say, Noah, you know, I have so many problems. I'm procrastinating. I have trouble focusing. I have trouble sleeping. You know, I don't know what to do first, or what to do next, or what to start. I don't believe in myself. I don't have the time. I don't have the money I want, whatever it might be. Right. And they list all these different problems. I say, I hear what you're saying, but I want you to know that all of those things you just listed are symptoms, right? They're just symptoms of a deeper problem. So the irony is, you don't have 12 problems. You don't have 99 problems. You don't have 10 problems. You don't even have 5 problems. You only have one problem. And that problem, believe it or not, is head trash. And so, you know, helping people take out their head trash is one of the reasons that I've helped people not only make a lot of money, but really, you know, find peace of mind, find happiness and love and fulfillment, you know, things that money is a part of. Certainly money is an important thing in life, right? I think every intelligent person would agree with that. But the point is that money, it's true, is not everything either, but it's not nothing. It's not everything. It's somewhere in the middle. And so the point is that, you know, when you take out your head trash, all those symptoms actually end up going away. So that helps people a lot, because they go, oh my gosh, you're right. I don't have all these problems that I thought I had. The problems are actually symptoms. And they've been trying to treat the symptoms, because that's basically all that's out there, is talking about symptoms. Don't procrastinate, you know, focus, work hard, whatever. Not saying those things are wrong necessarily, but they're not treating the actual cause. And that's why we see people have these really dramatic, really life-changing results.
I totally agree. A lot of time I told my client the same thing, and I see a lot of surface level, you know, symptoms or complaints, but all boils down maybe just this 1 or 2 really core beliefs, core issue, right? But I think first, help people to be more self-aware is really hard. Second, help people to be willing to make some strategies and really face it and start making change how they think. It's even harder. So I'm curious, how can you make that happen in a short term, like 12 weeks?
Well, one of the things that we use is a process, a method that I invented 25 years ago, which is called Afformations. This is a book that I wrote with Hay House a few years ago, called the Book of Afformations, if you can see the book that I'm holding up here. And it's spelled Afformations. So it's not affirmations, it's Afformations with an O. Okay. And so, as everybody watching this program or listening probably knows what an affirmation is, like, when, as a keynote speaker, one of the things I like to do is have my audience members stand up, whether I'm speaking for, you know, a small private workshop, like 100 people, or a big international conference with thousands of attendees. I like to say, all right, everybody stand up, and we're going to say an old style affirmation, just like the gurus taught us. And I say to everybody, say, I am rich. And they go, I am rich. You know what happens next? Everybody starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing at? And they say, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. See, now that's the problem with the old way of doing it, the old affirmations method. We're saying these statements we want to believe, but we just don't believe them. So 25 years ago, in 1997, I actually invented this process called the Afformations method. It was actually, it happened in the shower, believe it or not. It was an epiphany that I had. In fact, in my books, in my programs, I call it the shower that changed everything. And so I was literally in the shower and I thought, wait a minute, why are we going around saying these statements we don't believe when the human mind responds to something even more powerful, which is questions? And so the point about the Afformations method, my Afformations method, is that rather than saying a statement you don't believe, you form it into an empowering question. So what would be an example of an affirmation versus an afformation? All right, so let's take an affirmation for sleep, right? Because that's the topic of this program. All right, so we say, the person might, if they go to the, all the old teachers, they would say, I'm getting sleepy, I sleep well, I find it easy to fall asleep, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now, those aren't exactly wrong. The problem is that the person might have trouble believing those statements, right? So what we've been taught and what the gurus say is, well, you just repeat it 1,000 million billion gajillion times. Now, for some people, it probably works, but for millions of people, they're still suffering. They're still struggling with this problem. And so what I teach my clients and in my books, my programs, I show you how to use my Afformations method, which would be an empowering question rather than a positive statement. So we would say something like this: why do I fall asleep so easily? Now, when you ask an empowering question like, why do I fall asleep so easily? Guess what happens in your brain? Your brain immediately starts to search for the answer of why do I fall asleep so easily? I have had so many clients and students and customers over the past quarter century who have written to me saying that they've used my Afformations method to sleep better than they have in years without drugs, without using any drugs, without, any medication or anything like that. Even if they've been on medication, they're able to, using my Afformations method, actually wean themselves off of that medication, which is wonderful, right? So this is a fully all natural process because it's using your brain, which last time we checked, everywhere you go, there you are, right? And so that's the beauty and the power, frankly, of my Afformations method. And, like I said, you can actually learn more about that at afformations.com. I'll hold up the book again. It's AFFORMATIONS, afformations.com. And you can learn more about my, really my iconic and life-changing Afformations method.
I like that. It's very interesting concept, right? Instead of trying to convince ourselves of
right,
like a statement that we know it's really hard to achieve. Instead of that, we ask ourselves some really interesting questions, but along that direction. I'm wondering how that's going to work in clinical settings. I may encourage some of my patients to try that.
Well, a lot of therapists, recommend my Afformations method. A lot of therapists, of course, recommend my books, whether it's Afformations or Headtrash or Power Habits. I've published 17 books so far. We got the 18th coming out soon. But so, yeah, a lot of therapists, counselors, coaches, other speakers recommend my work to their clients, their patients, frankly, with great results. And people, what I love is, reading the stories that people send me, that, people who have, not only made more money. That's an easy one to measure because, I was making this much and now I'm making 10 times as much. We've had plenty of people double, triple, quadruple, their income, their sales, their revenues in a very, very short amount of time using my methods, and as well as gaining that fulfillment, sleeping better, losing weight, finding love. I had a couple from Germany. They wrote to me and they said they used my Afformations method. They were about to get a divorce. In fact, they told me they had the divorce papers on the desk ready to be signed. You can't get any closer than that, right? To a divorce. I mean, there they are. Papers are ready. Sign here. And then they heard me on a program. They heard an interview with me. They started using my Afformations method. Well, they ended up tearing up those divorce papers and now they're madly in love again. So, just incredible stories like that from literally around the world.
Wow, that's so amazing. Yeah. So I think a lot of this we talk about is mindset, is about the cognitive part, right? What we can change. And there's in psychology, we always say the cognitive part is related to the behavior part. How you think guide how you react, and how you react will impact how you think. So when we talk about actions, which either sleep related or money related or anything else related, it's about habit. So a lot of people talk about, well, how to build a healthy habit, right? Healthy sleep habit or any other lifestyle habits. it's really hard for a lot of people. They think they need strong willpower. But a lot of my clients told me they don't have the willpower to make certain changes or to really deliver certain they think are good, right habits. So I'm curious. I know you work with a lot of very successful executives, entrepreneurs, even celebrities. Have you noticed some really wonderful habits or mindset they are having that other people can really learn?
Well, it really comes down to what a habit actually is. See, we're not taught this in school. We're not taught this really anywhere. And so after 25 years of working with clients, coaches, speakers, authors, course creators, I mean, as you mentioned, 7 and 8 figure CEOs, celebrities, professional athletes, people from all walks of life, health professionals, chiropractors, therapists. I mean, really just runs the gamut. What I realized is that a habit is really 5 stages. And it comes down to understanding what a habit is, then understanding what willpower is, and why willpower is a very weak way to go about changing a habit. So let me give you an example. Imagine that you're in your kitchen right now, and someone brings in a plate of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, right? And you can see those beautiful, delicious looking chocolate chip cookies. You can smell the smell of chocolate chip cookies. You see them, you see like the steam rising up, and you're like, boy, that smells good. And your mouth starts to water because you love the taste of chocolate chip cookies, right? And then here's what the person says to you: all right, now listen, I'm going to leave right now, and don't eat a chocolate chip cookie. Do not touch those chocolate chip cookies. Don't eat one. All right, do not touch them. All right, I'm leaving, and I'll see you soon. So they leave the room. Now, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to eat all the chocolate chip cookies, right? You're certainly going to eat 1, 2, 3. You're going to stuff your face, right? That's what we all would do, because that's what is happening. So that's what willpower is like. Willpower is like you saying to you, don't eat a chocolate chip cookie. Don't do this thing that you want to do, right? Or do this thing that you don't want to do, however you want to look at it. And so we humans don't like to deprive ourselves. And because we would, especially with all the distractions we have nowadays, from our smartphones to the internet to Netflix and everything else. And so the point is that willpower, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying it's a very weak way to go about changing a habit. So what's a better way is understanding the 5 stages of a habit. And I talk about this in my books, like Power Habits, like Headtrash, Power Habits Academy, which is an online course. Again, you can just go to our website, noahstjohn.com, and you can see all these different courses and books and programs that we have, as well as coaching for individuals and groups. My point is that a habit is really 5 stages: the cue, routine, reward, craving, and belief. That's all a habit is. So if you look at it, a cue is what happens in your life. That's the trigger, right? That triggers this behavior. Then you have the routine. That's what a habit actually is. That's the behavior you're doing, right? So let's take the example. Another classic example is the number one complaint that I get from my clients, when they first come to me or hire me or buy one of my books or my courses or hire me as a coach. They say, Noah, I've got to stop procrastinating. I'm just procrastinating all the time. And I know I should I know I should be doing these things, but I'm just not doing them. So how can you help me stop procrastinating? So let's take procrastination. So the cue, let's say in this example, is you think about doing something that would be good for your business, your health, your well-being, whatever it might be, right? Or if you want to lose weight, or you want to grow your business, you want to make more money, whatever it might be, right? Whatever your goal is. So you think about doing that thing, but then guess what happens? The routine is you do something else, right? So the classic example is, what? I know I should make that phone call, but I think I'll go watch Netflix. Right. And so that's what happens. So that's the routine. Well, then you have a reward in the brain. Now, the cue, routine, reward. Now, what could be the reward? Well, ironically, the reward we're talking about is in the subconscious mind. Remember, I talked about that earlier. So the subconscious has a reward for being safe, right? For staying safe. In other words, if you are doing or thinking about doing that thing that might either help you in your business, your career, your health, whatever it might be, you're going to face that thing called fear. Right. And so we humans don't want to face our fears. We'd rather give in to our fears, most people. And so they go, oh, that sounds really hard. Or I'm scared. I think I'll go watch Netflix. Right. And so we avoid that thing that causes fear. So that's the reward in the brain. And then there's the craving. The craving is for safety. So the human brain wants to be safe. Right. So the brain goes, Oh, good, I'm safe. Phew, I didn't have to face that fear. But then what happens? You have the fifth stage, which is a belief. And the belief is, I can't do it. I'll never do it. I'll never amount to, I can't do anything right. I'm a procrastinator. I always put things, you see, we get these beliefs, but they have no basis in reality. It's only the fact that we've been doing this routine. So how do you change a habit? Ironically, you only need to change two things. You don't have to change everything. And this is why, another reason why my clients and students get so much, get these incredible results so quickly. To your question of how does it happen so fast? Well, because you don't have to change your whole life. You only have to change two things. You have to change your routine and change your belief. So what do you mean by change your routine? So you have the same cue. You think about doing the thing. The routine is you do the thing. Oh my God, that'll never work. No, I know it's crazy, right? No, you actually do it. But I'm scared. No kidding. We're all scared. Wake up. Hello, it's okay. Just because you're scared doesn't mean that bad things are going to happen. Mark Twain, the legendary author, he had a great quote that I love. He said, "I have known a great many troubles in my life, most of which never happened." I remember that quote all the time because I go, we can imagine these things, I mean, every single day. Oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What's it? And you know what? They never happen. So get over yourself. It's like, it's not going to be that bad. You make a phone call. What are they going to do? Come through the phone and punch you in the face? I mean, there's really nothing bad that can happen. So get over yourself. And then the beauty of it is, then other thing you have to do is change your beliefs. Guess what? I just showed you how to change your beliefs. Use my Afformations method. You can change your beliefs in less than 5 minutes a day. It's so powerful and so effective and so fast. So instead of trying to beat yourself up with the old Afformations method, use my Afformations method. Just ask, why am I so happy? Why am I enough? Why can I do the things I set out to do? I give you hundreds and hundreds of Afformations in my books, my online courses, and you can just literally change your life in less than 5 minutes a day.
When you talk about the 5 steps, I was just thinking about what we've been doing to help insomnia patients. Sounds like very similarly, right? Like at nighttime, when you have the cue, you need to sleep, then you need to build a healthy bad habit and just do it. And like wind down period, all those things. And then belief is another thing we work on, how to reduce the sleep anxiety. And especially what you mentioned last was remind me a lot of my patients with anxiety. I often notice and even point that to them that they spend 99% of the time worrying about something that have the possibility of happening less than 1%.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone laugh at that when they realize it. It just sometimes it's hard for them to really work.
Of course. I'll give you an example of that, to your point, is that, a lot of people are afraid of flying, right? So, you're in a plane, and if you were to like go into the brains of everybody on that plane, let's say there's 150 people on the plane, probably 2/3, 75% of them are really scared right now. Some, of course, are relaxed. They've done it a million times and they're like, who cares? Some are nervous. Some maybe it's their first time or whatever it might be, right? So you have, let's say even just half the plane is scared of flying, right? So they're like, oh my gosh, what if the plane crashes? What if we fly into a mountain? What if we burn and, fall from the sky, whatever. So the irony of that is that, people say, oh, if you think about it, then it will come about. And if that were true, then no plane would have ever taken off in the history of man, So it's like, realize that these things, honest to goodness, they just almost never happen. Right. It's certainly not to say that you should take crazy risks and go out and do crazy things or, silly things or dumb things or whatever, but realize that, the things that we build up in our mind that are so awful and terrible. And that's another reason that you really need to have a coach. You really need to have, as I talked about earlier, the right plan, what to do, the right tools, how to do it. And you must have the right support, someone who believes in you, oftentimes before you believe in yourself. Right. And it's like that movie Star Wars. Right. And if you remember the second movie, Empire Strikes Back, when Luke Skywalker lands on the Dagobah planet and he meets Yoda there, and Yoda, he crash lands his spaceship and Luke Skywalker tries to move the spaceship with the Force and he can't do it. And then Yoda moves it with the Force, meaning, just the energy of the Force. And then Luke says to Yoda, I don't believe it. And Yoda says, well, that's why you fail. Right. And so what Luke is really saying is, I don't think I can do that. That's what he's actually saying, even though that's not the line. But what he's really saying is, I don't think I just saw you do it, but I don't think I can do it. Well, you can do it, right? If as long as you have those three elements, the right plan, the right tools, and the right support. But there is actually one more thing that I want to mention, and that is you have to take the right actions, right? You have to take the right actions. This isn't about, it's like, imagine if you sat on the couch, eating junk food, and you would say, I really want to have 6-pack abs, but I'm not going to work out. I'm going to eat junk food and just watch TV. Well, that's not going to work, So we have to put things into action if we want to get a result, like sleeping better, making more money, and advancing our career, having a happy relationship, a happy marriage, whatever your goals and dreams are. So it is not magic, it's science, but it really is about taking inspired action. Just like that house story I told you earlier. Imagine if I just ignored that prompting. If I would have ignored it and just stayed in bed and turned on and said, oh, that's stupid, that's a dumb idea, probably this house would have gone to somebody else. I mean, certainly it would have, right? Somebody else would have bought this house. And I was in an okay house before, but this is like 10 times better, and it's better than anything I could have ever imagined. So I share that story to inspire people to take action, and listen to those inner promptings, and don't tell yourself you can't do it.
Yeah, that's so important. I really like the affirmation method you created, and I possibly gonna find your book and give it some read, see how I can apply that in some of my work, and hopefully that can help a lot of people. So I know you have a new book come out. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So as I mentioned, I've written a lot of books here. So this is my new book. It's called Millionaire Afformations, the magic formula that will make you rich. And people can get this book. And in fact, you can get it $300 of free bonus gifts because you're watching or listening to this program right now. Just go to getmillionairebook.com. Very easy to remember. All my URLs, all my domains are very easy to remember. Getmillionairebook.com. And then you also, by the way, you want to get the companion journal that goes along with that. We have the companion journal. So you get the book and then the journal. And I literally show you and walk you through my Core 4 formula that has helped over 1 million people around the world over the last quarter century so you can change your financial life in less than 5 minutes a day. I know it sounds crazy, but I hope that I've given enough value on this in this interview to show you that it really can work, and it does work, and it's worked for over 1 million people. And by the way, I do just want to reiterate about Headtrash. For those of you who want to take out your head trash, make sure you go to sendmeabooknoah.com. Very easy to remember. Sendmeabooknoah.com. And the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping, but it's available all, wherever books are sold, and, we can ship all around the world. So sendmeabooknoah.com and then getmillionairebook.com.
Great. Thank you, Noah. It's amazing Absolutely. That you have written so many books and help a lot of people. I often believe, everyone has their own journey. They all need their own coach and their own support and guidance, right? I feel I appreciate every single person out there are doing their work and to help someone in a certain way. I'm sure some people would really benefit from your work.
Thank you.
If I know you already share a lot of links and your books. Is there any other platforms if people want to find your service, want to know more about you? Any other platform you want to share with our audience?
Absolutely, yeah. Just the best place to go is our main website. It's noahstjohn.com, NOAHSTJOHN, just like it sounds. noahstjohn.com. You can check out our online courses, my coaching, one-on-one group coaching. Also, if you want to book me to speak at your conference or your event, that's all there at noahstjohn.com, as well as my books and courses and all my social media. You can just basically anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, just search for Noah St. John, and that's usually me.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much, Noah, for coming to the podcast and sharing all this wonderful information and your formulation of success with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching our videos or listening to our podcast. If you like our show, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share it. If you have any questions or feedback, we would always love to hear from you. You can either email us or leave feedback on our website at mindbodygarden.com. or directly under the YouTube video channel. Thank you very much for your company today, and hopefully to hear from you or have you with us next time.